Good evening, everybody. The hour being after 6:30, I'd like to call the Tuesday, March 19th, Walpole School Building Committee meeting to order. Our first order of business is going to be approval of previous meeting minutes. Do we have any questions or comments about the minutes? Hearing none, I take a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
So moved.
Motion from Ms. Gallivan, is that a second?
Yep.
A second from Mr. Fisher. Let me poll the committee. Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Barrett.
Yes.
Dr. Kenny.
Yes.
Ms. Gallivan.
Yes.
Is Ms. Gaositz here? Dr. Goff.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Conroy. Is Jeff Fisher here?
Yes.
Your vote, Jeff? Yes?
Yes.
Jack Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Hahn. Dr. Hahn.
Yes. Yes.
Is Mr. Senek here? And I vote yes, it is a vote. Our next order of business, and this is over to you, Kate, the project status update.
I'll hand this over to either Griffin or Joel for the construction update.
I'll take it. Thanks, Kate. All right. So this photo here, kind of the same view we've been looking at for a couple months now. The exterior facade is just about 100% complete. There's a couple areas that we have still open just for loading access into the building. The roof is complete. You can also see kind of at the bottom left there, the site contractor is going to start working his way around, setting the grade around the building. So start to see some of the landscape items go in the next month or so. Just more pictures of the exterior. You can see the canopy there, the translucent panels in the gym, kind of the white towards the roof there. Those are all complete. And then this picture here from the north looking south. So that kind of the area right in the middle there, that's one of the areas that we're using to get material in. You can see that's framed, but the brick's not done. So once we have some of our last deliveries, we'll close that in, get the mason back out there and finish up the exterior. And then these couple pictures here, just here on the left is the typical classroom. So you can see underneath this paper, the flooring is installed. The casework is in. The marker board's kind of in the background of the picture. Also have the light fixtures. That was a big milestone. That was one of those things that we were tracking for a decent lead time, but those are in. We're gonna start installing some of the ceiling tile. We've got the above ceiling inspections, so next week or so, that'll all be whited out. And the photo on the right there, kind of the same sequence of operations. That's just your typical science room, so a lot more casework. And there'll be some science tables in there soon. And same thing with the ceiling starting to get whited out. And then these are pretty much a typical bathroom. You have your fixtures in, the tiles complete. The resinous flooring, it's covered right now, but you can kind of see the base. That's all poured, that's all complete. And the toilet partitions will start going in. This here is kind of like two views from the main entrance. So the one on the left there, you're looking almost down the hallway towards the cafeteria. And then to the left of the photo there is like the entry vestibule. And then if you were standing there looking to your right, you'd see the monumental stair there. So that's, you can see the framing on the bottom of the stair that gets all nice, like finished wood panels. There's actually a bench that'll get framed out underneath that as well. The photo on the left here, the auditorium. So that is sheetrocked, being taped. You can see above ceiling, all that, all the mechanicals, the deck, everything gets painted kind of that darkish gray. And then there will also be some acoustical panel clouds that are like suspended from the ceiling. That'll be your ceiling in that area, but you'll be able to kind of see it past, and all that stuff will be dark. So it's It'll be nice for the auditorium. We'll have the seating will probably be one of the last things we do the next couple months, but we have that on the radar as well. And then the photo on the right there is kind of standing in the cafeteria. So you can see the stair that gets you up to the second floor, kind of right out in front of the gym. You can see the wall tile. In the next month or so, we'll start seeing some of the actual kitchen equipment showing up. So that'll start to get installed. And then this 2 photos here from the gym. So the picture on the left, that's kind of the big gym space. And then on the right is your alt PE space. So you can see the gym's painted, the overhead's all painted white. They'll be moving into the alt PE space. And then that'll get the wood flooring probably in the next 2 months here. That's one of the last items we'll do too, just to make sure none of that gets, stepped over and ruined anyway. And this is just kind of big picture, some look ahead items, some items that were completed. As I mentioned, the kitchen equipment will start showing up, gym equipment, so like the overhead curtain, divider curtain, the gym backstops for the basketball hoops. And then we also have the elevator showing up probably the first week of April. So we'll have a walkthrough with them tomorrow just to kind of do like a pre-walkthrough, make sure everything looks good on their end, and then we'll start getting that equipment out to the site. But all looking good.
One big item in terms of schedule that obviously everyone's been tracking since the beginning is the switchgear. And we got very positive news early this week. The switchgear itself is being made at a factory in El Paso, Texas. And we've been tracking all the individual components with the manufacturer. And as of middle of last week, they were down to 2 pieces that they didn't have, one of which they couldn't finish the assembly without. And those 2 parts did arrive to the factory on Friday. They've been allocated to our gear, and the unit's into final assembly now, and we've got it confirmed ship for next week. So we're expecting that's going to go on a truck right out to the site, hopefully early next week. They've told us Thursday, the 28th, as a worst case scenario. So very positive news there. And we should see that, and we can finally stop worrying about it, hopefully next week.
Any questions on the look ahead or construction update?
No, that's just exciting, especially Joel's most recent news. So thank you.
All right, looking at the meetings held. So the standard meetings, our weekly meetings continue. We have weekly hot list meetings. We have bi-weekly technology meetings as we are in the process of issuing POs for the technology package, and I'll give you an update shortly. Transition move management meetings continue bi-weekly. All the FF&E POs have been released and the delivery dates are confirmed for June 24th through July 26th. MAP commissioning meetings are ongoing and they have monthly site visits. And in terms of construction administration, TAPE is on site weekly and the consultants are out as needed. Our third-party testing agency agent is also out as needed, PSI. In terms of document control, submittal review is ongoing, request for information continue, architect supplemental instructions continue. We've had 135 to date, and we have 5 new PCOs. Just to circle back on what we talked about and got a vote on at the meeting in February. So during the February building committee meeting, the committee voted on a not to exceed IT budget of $2,274,171, knowing that we had RFQs coming out in the next week or two. And we wanted to get the POs moving on those, so we didn't want to have to wait for the next meeting. We have most of the bids in. The only one outstanding is the kitchen POSs. But we do have, there's an estimate, that was a smaller piece. The estimate was 21,000 for that. But with the bids in and the POs are now working their way through the town for processing, we're looking pretty good with our IT package currently. Our budget was $2,274,000, and right now the bids came in were $1,987,000. So we're significantly under what we asked for approval last month. So we're in really good shape. And then touching base on the move services, so the RFQ for move services, which is the state contract, FAC 127, we went out in February. We got 3 proposals in. We had 4 companies join a walkthrough, and we ended up getting 3 proposals in. So the bid tab is included in the package. Diamond relocation was the lowest. The move is pretty complicated. We've had a lot of transition meetings, and combining 2 schools into one, it can be straightforward, but then it's figuring out what you're going to do with the furniture in the old schools and trying to reuse desks that are in really good condition in other schools in the district. So there's a lot of moving pieces in this. So within the base bid was $37,500 for Diamond, and that included the crates and moving the 2 schools into the new school. The movers would pack up the libraries, put them on book carts, so work with the librarian. The movers would actually physically move the books with the librarian's direction, load up the book carts, and then the movers will return to unload the book carts and help the librarian set up her media center in August. So all of that is encompassed in this. We also priced out some additional labor if we need some help packing things last minute with the movers. And we are planning on recycling, reusing, so donating 1,000 desks and chairs. So that is included in this. We have to buy the labor to collect all those desks, pack them up, and they'll get shipped overseas, and we'll receive notification on where the desks got donated to. And then moving furniture within the school. So an example is that the high school is going to take most of the desks in the Bird, and then switch out their desks in the high school. So we did full inventory lists of the Johnson and the Bird school, and it's one big puzzle in figuring out where things can get reused. So we are looking for a vote for a recommendation to encumber Diamond relocation in the amount of $79,600, and this would get applied to our other project costs budget line item. We currently have $96,877 in this line item, so that's where this would go.
Thanks, Kate. Do we have any questions or comments about the move? Hearing none, yes, Jack.
Kate, what was the dollar value again?
So the total dollar value for the move, I had them break out some pieces so I could see the individual pieces. The total value is $79,600.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right.
Yeah, Mark, I had a quick question, Mark.
Right ahead,
It's
Ben.
Ben.
Yeah.
In how do we feel about the large price difference there between the first and second bidders? I mean, is Diamond somebody that you all have used before or have heard from, or what kind of assurances or feelings do we have about their bid?
Yeah, they're a reputable moving company. We use them a lot at Vertex. I know that I haven't used them, but they are used within our company. They just did our Wellesley move, and they've done a ton of other moves within our company. So we've worked with them before, and we feel comfortable with them.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing none, I take a motion to approve the move dollar value.
I'll move.
I have a motion for Mr. Fisher. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second for Ms. Gallivan. Let me poll the committee. Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Barrett.
Yes.
Dr. Kenny.
Yes.
Ms. Gallivan.
Yes.
Dr. Goff.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Conroy.
Yes.
Jeff Fisher.
Yes.
Jack Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Connor.
Yes.
Dr. Hahn.
Yes.
Is Ms. Gaositz here? Or Mr. Senek?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Senek, and I vote yes, it is a vote. Next, Kate, so proposed change orders?
So there are two proposals that have come our way. I know that the school has a committee together working on combining the two middle schools into one. And these have come up purchasing new staff shirts and student shirts for opening day in August. So this is something that we're looking to encumber now. So then the design can get done and the shirts purchased for the opening of the new school. So this is from the Run House. It's a local company, and we would look for an approval. Okay,
Oh, it looks like he's signing in now. You
yeah,
just might need a minute to kind of get up and running.
yeah.
So Mark can see what's going on in the room.
I can hear you now, I just can't see anything.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know why cut. You're in the meeting over here. Are you? I just joined. Okay. It's abrupt, huh?
Looks like it's coming up now.
Donnie, can you hear me talking?
Thanks.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Donnie said he has no sound right now.
Oh,
It just came back on.
Yep.
Okay.
We're back here too.
Thank you. I thought maybe I wasn't listening.
Kate, do you want to continue?
Yeah, I don't think she can hear you. Patrick, I don't think the audio's working. For some reason there's audio's coming through here. He's talking to her. She's not responding, so.
Kate, can you hear me?
yep, I can hear
All
you.
right, very good. I think we're back on. So do you want to start the Run House bit from the top, I guess, maybe?
Yeah, so these are quotes from the Run House for staff shirts and student shirts for the opening of the new Walpole Middle School. And we're looking for a vote to encumber $9,112.50 to get these moving with design in preparation for the fall.
What is this?
Shirts. Everybody
So
wears
this
the same
is-
shirt the first day of school.
Okay, gotcha.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Did we get any other proposals?
No.
Anybody else? Questions or comments? Hearing none, I take a motion to approve the encumbrance for the Run House.
So moved.
Who is that, Mr. Barrett?
Yep.
I have a motion from Mr. Barrett. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Gallivan. Let me poll the committee. Mr. Frisha?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
Dr. Kenny?
Yes.
Ms. Gallivan?
Yes.
Dr. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Conroy? Jeff Fisher?
Yes.
Jack Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Dr. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Senick?
Yes.
And back to Mr. Conroy. And I vote yes, it is a vote. Next, Kate?
So reviewing the proposed change order log. So just a reminder, the items in green are ready for review for a vote with the building committee. The items in yellow are under review. So you've seen a lot of these before. The new items are below this black line. So we're looking to take advantage of some of these credits that have been on the PCO log and clean everything up. So starting from the top, PCO 27 lighting clarifications credit. This is a credit for $1,999. This was for coordination with the ceiling grid and some classroom fixtures that had slightly shifted, resulting in a credit. PCO 43 tape at masonry joint credits. This is for $3,825. This is a credit for the taping of masonry insulation joints, which was not needed on this project. PCO 44 fire door post credit. This is a credit for $2,500. And it has to do with changes to the folding fire door posts in the track system for the wand doors, one on each floor. PCO 52 ball valve at balancing valve. This is a credit for $4,121. There's two of these ball valves in the drawings and only a single ball valve is needed. So this is the credit for the difference. PCO 55 ADA compliant dishwashers at special education room for a credit of $588. This was the model we initially had for a dishwasher was discontinued. So this is a credit for the difference between the new model and the old model. PCO 57 locker locks. This is an ad for $5,504. This is for locks for all of the lockers in the whole new building with one master key. And so everything is uniform. This is something that was not in the base contract and not in FF&E. PCO 61 circuit for audio power. This is an ad of $80,606. This is for the audio uplift devices shown in the technology drawings, but the wiring was not coordinating in the electrical drawings. So this is for the junction box and wiring for those speakers. PCO 59 trench drain. This is for $23,282. This is a cost to add a trench drain at the east side of Area A to improve drainage. PCO 64R1. This is the catering coffee station. This is something that's come up since our last meeting and was a request from the kitchen staff to add a coffee station in the main kitchen here for $7,060. And this includes the plumbing, electrical, and the table for a catering coffee station. But the coffee maker itself would be purchased through FF&E. So that would come to you at a later date. It was not in the original FF&E package we had processed last month and the month prior. So the change order number 9, we're looking for an approval of $103,419 to clean up the PCO log. And just a reminder that total remaining contingency to date with what we've approved is $4,263,000. So with these pending approvals, if estimated and pending come into fruition, we'll still have 4 million left, 4,051,000 in owner's construction contingency. Any questions on the PCOs?
Yeah. 61, there's been some discussion and some emails going around over the last week or so. 61 is a very big item, $80,000. No, I don't think anybody's questioning whether the fact that whether it needs to be done or not. It has to get done. We need to have powers at these digital speakers. However, this was because of an error in the drawing through no fault of the town. It's not an increase in scope. The town had no responsibility for the error. And the problem is, why is the town being asked to pay for it?
So the speakers are owned, but the wiring is not. So it was not something that was in the drawings that were priced out by the filed subbid. So they don't own it. So this is something additional. It's not rework. It's something that wasn't bought out on bid day.
Not questioning that, Kate. All right, but isn't an error, it wasn't an error by the town. It was an error by the architect and by Vertex for not catching it. So the question is, why should the town pay for something that it didn't have the error? It's not a change in scope. In order to make the speakers, which were part of the design package, work, they need to have power. And it wasn't included in there. I'm not asking or suggesting at all that the electrical contractor through Fontaine should be responsible for it. But I also don't think it's the responsibility of the town. And we're being asked to not only approve these change orders, but approve the funding for the change orders at this time, tonight. And I just don't think that that's the proper way to do it. And I know I'm not the only one thinking this way.
So either way, the town would have paid for this. Essentially, this would have been included in the GMP initially, if it was shown in the electrical drawings, but it wasn't. So basically, you would have paid for it in the GMP. The GMP would have been higher initially. You would have had higher initial costs of the GMP. But since it was missed, it just gets picked up as change order. So kind of either way, the town ends up paying for this. I guess, does that answer your...
No, I don't agree with that.
Okay, so I would just like to say that this is a $92 million project. We do our best to coordinate the drawings, and I know TAPE worked really, really hard on the whole drawing set to make sure it was coordinated. But construction is not perfect, and that is what contingencies are for little items like this that comes up. I know it doesn't seem like a little item. It's an $80,000 change, but we have an owner's construction contingency for items that aren't coordinated and picked up during construction. So this is a gigantic construction project, and I think the drawings were coordinated very well, but there is, this has come up that we do need to address. So.
And Jack, I know the number looks big on paper, but there's 71 classrooms. So if you break that down 71 times, it's about $1,135 a location. So basically, it's roughly an 8-hour, one electrician, some materials. So if you break it down per classroom, it's just over $1,000. I know the number seems big. We reviewed it, vetted it. I'm with Matt that if the was shown the documents, the GMP would have been higher, but I think that's why we have a construction contingencies for this type of incident.
Brian, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. This was not an error on the part of the town. And it's $80,000. That's not chump change. And I think that's, I would certainly vote to approve the PCO, but I certainly won't vote to approve the funding for this particular change order tonight.
Anybody else? Questions or comments?
Yeah, I got a question as well.
Yep. Ben?
Okay. Yeah, so I hear what you're saying, Jack, 100%. But I guess the fact remains that the power has to be there, right? So whether the town pays for it at bid time or we pay for it now, as long as there's no impact costs, as long as we're not paying over and above what we would have paid, it's something that we would have paid anyway. So there's no claim mechanism or, mechanism to strike that cost and have somebody else pay it, because anybody who looks at that, if it was a claim situation, would say, well, it has to go in to make the building work. And as long as there's no additional cost being incurred, that's part of the cost of the building. And the only difference is we're paying it now instead of paying it at bid time. That's the only difference. So it wouldn't be viewed as an error. It would be viewed as an omission. And so the town is receiving the benefit of that work. And so we got to pay for it, is how it break out. And I know that sounds a little wonky, but I guess I'd ask, for Vertex and TAP A to confirm that there is no impact costs or delay costs or any other inflation or escalation that's a part of this, that we're paying the same price that we would have paid regardless of when it was identified. And if that's true, then that's the cost of putting in this wire, no matter when it's done. And we won't be able to recoup that from anybody else. But if could somebody just confirm that for me?
Kate?
Yeah, so,
Would I be able to jump in on that a little
yeah,
bit? Just like when the electrical bidders are reviewing the drawings and they're looking at, what devices are shown on their electrical plans that they have to provide power for. They're gonna pick up how many feet of wire they need to pull to that individual device and so forth if it's shown on the drawings. They go through the same exercise now, and the change order, when it comes in, gets thoroughly vetted in our office, goes through the electrical engineer for TAP A. Everyone reviews the unit costs. We make sure that all the pricing seems reasonable. Vertex does the same. It's a very thorough vetting process, more so than any kind of visibility we get into on bid day with what the electrical contractor carries. And I would say it's a fair statement to say that you're going to pay, within dollars, the same amount that they would have carried on bid day after that, that vetting process. And just for context, in my experience, it's like very, very much an anomaly that we haven't had more of these over the course of the project. On my last project, we averaged almost over $200,000 in monthly costs related to stuff that got missed in the design that were owner change orders. And I think it's just an anomaly, a function of the fact that we've gotten this far in the project and not had this situation more frequently, because it really is, it's like the day to day, we constantly are dealing with changes like this, and we have not had to do that here because the design was well coordinated. And I think that's probably why it stands out this far along in the project, just because we haven't had this conversation many times.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I think we've been incredibly fortunate to have this, and not fortunate, but also have a solid design. So, at the end of the day, it's got to get put in, and somebody's got to get paid for it. So we can talk about it more and vote on it a couple of weeks from now. It's a frustrating thing, and I don't like it either. But we can kick it down the road and discuss it again. I don't know what different conclusion we're going to come down to that's different in 2 weeks than we can come down to tonight, unless somebody has a different idea.
Ben, I think this work has to be done now. I think this needs to be approved.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I just want everyone to know that it's not like we're losing money. Nobody's making out on this or anything, right? It's just work that's got to get put in. So I hear the frustration and I share it, but I would just echo Joel. We're incredibly fortunate to be where we're at with this job here. So.
Thanks, Ben. Anybody else?
Couple other, I just
Yeah.
want to repeat a couple of things. Okay, I'm not saying, and no one is saying that this work doesn't have to get done and it should and we should make allowances to let this happen quickly. Why the speakers are being installed. It needs to get done. There's no question about that. It's a matter of who should pay for it. And I asked very specifically in an email yesterday that please take a look at the contracts and see what the coverage is for types of errors like these. You call them omissions. Okay, I don't care what the term is what you used, but the thing is, it may have made a difference on the bid day. So I'm going to suggest that someone go back, take a look at the contract language and see who is actually responsible for these kinds of things. Because it is an $80,000 uplift charge to the town that was not accounted for. And it's not because of any error that the town made. So,
Anybody else have any questions or comments about contract language or whatnot?
Yeah, this is Nancy,
Go ahead,
and
Nancy.
I think that, I mean, I know that this is out of my area of expertise, but I also know that this is why we have somebody like Jack on the committee. So I'm listening carefully to what you're saying, Jack. I think that we don't want to slow down the project for this. So can somebody clarify if we vote to approve the change order but not the funding tonight, does that allow us to have the contract language looked at more carefully and we could vote the funding of it at the next meeting, or does that slow us down?
So the change would be to Fontaine's contract for the 103,000. So you're either not voting that PCO and reducing what's issued to Fontaine's contract, or I haven't had someone vote a PCO but then not approve the funding because.
I mean, the answer is no. I think that's a nice way of saying no. You got to vote it and fund it so that they can go do the work.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I disagree with that. We can vote to authorize the PCO, which covers Fontaine, to go ahead, and they know that they will get covered. It's just where the source of that funding will come from. So I disagree with that. You can go ahead and we can vote to authorize the PCO 61, and then make a decision after we look at the contract language as to where the source of that funding will come from.
Yeah. You sure can do that, right? You sure can do that if that's what people want to do. But I'm just telling you, we're going to be back in the same place we're at now. So, we can do it the easy way, we can do it the hard way, but that's why we have these votes for everybody. So that's fine.
And again, I know Chris is not on tonight, but he kind of sent an email earlier over to Vertex and everybody as well, basically saying that, the architects and OPM are not responsible for paying for the building, and typically how this works is that, if there's a lot of errors and omissions or change orders that are in question, they get approved. And then through the designer errors and omissions insurance and policy, you can submit it to that. But that is a longer process. It takes a lot more work and, again, time. But I think at this point, moving forward, if we don't approve this, it could cost even more money since they are trying to white out the ceilings and everything else. I can let kind of Joel speak on the schedule more, but that's kind of the language of what's in the contract right now.
Yeah, in my mind, we need to get this done now, so we're going to be proceeding with it, I think, and make sure that the work gets done so that it doesn't hold up schedule or anything like that. I have not gone through the exercise of trying to find a different funding source for a change like this in the past. But I think at bottom line, I think we as the construction manager have to get the work done, and we're going to get it done one way or another.
Yeah, and I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but I think what Pepe is saying is they're not going to pay for it. Okay, so we can have further discussions on that down the road somewhere if somebody feels that we've been hard done by, right? That's the claim process, I think that Matt just alluded to there. And so we can go down that path, but it really doesn't have anything to do with getting the work done now. And we can have those discussions. Jack, I'm not saying I'm against that if there's something people want to pursue, but it really doesn't have any bearing on getting this done now.
Anybody else, questions or comments?
Can I ask about the catering coffee station? Sorry. Is that for teachers or are we serving coffee to eighth graders?
It's for catering. So that's one of the things that came up through after the walkthrough of the kitchen that the food service did. They realized that during programming, they left out their catering because they do catering since this is the central kitchen.
Okay.
They realized they left it out during the programming. They brought it to our attention, and this was for adding the plumbing and the cart and everything else in the kitchen for it to sit on, power and everything else that's kind of associated with it.
Okay.
No, they're not serving coffee to any of the students.
No idea what, all right. And then the trench drain, you said that's for additional drainage?
Yeah, that's for additional drainage. That's on the east side of the classroom wing, kind of where the outdoor classroom is at, and along with the swing set. So to the east of that, and then kind of wrapping to the south of the building is one of the rainwater retention basins. And after the district did a walkthrough, they brought up a concern with having that door there and the retention basin being so close. So they asked us to talk with our landscape and civil architect to see what redundancies we could add to the project. So with their review, they thought we can add a trench drain kind of in front of that door. So if any water does make its way up, it'll hit that trench drain and not go into the building.
Makes sense.
Anybody else? Do we have a motion of some sort? Jack?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve and fund all PCOs except for 61, which we'll take up as a separate item.
Any questions or comments?
Give me a second.
Do we have a second?
I saw Jack Conroy was on and had his hand up. Did he drop?
Jack, are you there?
I don't see him on anymore. Never mind.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We
Can
do
you
not.
state that motion one more time?
Yes.
I move that we approve and fund as indicated all PCOs except for number 61, which will be as a separate discussion.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
But somebody gonna make the calculations and how much we're approving?
I'll do it. Hold on a second.
Then, so I guess, how do you want to take up number 61? We need a vote tonight, and we need to authorize that work. So. I mean, I'll second your motion if I agree with how you want to take up the
What I'd like to do when we
the
discuss
approval
it,
of the work for the 80,606.
okay, what I'd like to do is for 61, as a separate motion, vote to approve it with the funding source to be determined after review of the contract. That'll allow the work to proceed.
So we
So
have
if you take PCO 61 out, change order number 9 would be for $22,813.
So does everybody understand the motion? So I assume we're gonna potentially with a second vote on this and then go back to item 61? Am I correct?
So we do a separate vote for 61, so that either passes or fails, the 61.
Mark, I have a question. Bridget?
Bridget, yep.
So I just want to make sure I understand. So with that vote, does that mean that 61 does not proceed? The work stops on that? Or did Jack say the work would continue?
We would entertain a motion to then move on to 61 individually, I believe.
Right, and that motion would be to approve the PCO and with the funding to be determined after review of the contract.
Okay.
So that would allow 61 to proceed, which we need to do.
But we don't have a motion on 61 yet.
No.
Right? We have a motion
So-
on everything but 61. with the idea that we will then return to 61, assuming we have a second and a vote. Do we have a second?
Do we have a dollar amount for what that,
I think Kate just said
the first vote minus 61 is?
22,000,
Yeah,
something.
22,813.
So you want to restate that motion and use that dollar amount?
Okay, let me try it again. I move that we approve and fund all PCOs except for number 61 in the amount of $22,813.
Second.
All right, we have a second. Let me poll the committee. Mr. Frisha,
Mark, I'm gonna ask for a clarification
Very
because
good.
I'm not comfortable.
Me
leaving
too.
the vote.
Me too.
So I need the assurance that this $87,000 wiring work is going to get done. I need the assurance. I'm not gonna vote without the assurance that that work is not gonna is going to continue.
Same.
So the next motion, and I mean, I'm happy to raise it if you don't want Jack to do it, but that will be to approve the work, but have further discussion on the funding source.
I think he's
Work's
looking
gotta
for
get
some,
done now.
I think he's
Yeah.
he's looking for the contractor to say if they're gonna get that work done under this setup or not.
Yes.
I think is what he's asking.
I will answer that. We're going to get this done no matter what. At this point, if you guys don't put it through on the change order, I'm doing it at our risk that if you end up in some kind of a dispute over the funding source, that it would come out of our contingency. And I'm perfectly comfortable saying, yes, we will get it done. It just makes things a lot harder, delays payment for our electrician potentially unless we step in and pay it. But we 100% will do that so to make sure that the work gets done.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Does anybody else have any questions? Hearing none, let me poll the committee. Mr. Frisha,
Yes.
Mr. Barrett,
No,
Dr. Kenny,
No.
Ms. Gallivan.
Yes.
Is Ms. Gaositz here? Dr. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
yeah,
Mr. Conroy, Jeff Fisher,
Yes.
Jack Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Dr. Hahn,
Yes.
Mr. Senek,
yes.
and I vote yes, it is a vote. So, next,
I'll make a motion to approve change order 61 with the funding source to be determined after review of the contract.
so does anybody have any questions or comments? So let's just be aware the work is gonna get.
Mark, I have a comment.
Yep,
I want to be clear. The review of the contract is to be done by the OPM. I just want to make sure who's doing the work. Right, Jack?
That was my question too.
It really doesn't make any difference to me who reviews the contract, as long as we get a definitive answer on,
It does to me because I need to know who's responsible for that. So I would ask that to be included as part of the motion.
And the timing, when it's gonna be resolved by, please.
let me try again. I'll make a motion to approve change order 61 with the funding source to be determined after review of the contract by the OPM within the next month, and for a vote to, on the funding source to to happen at the next meeting.
does everybody understand that? Do we have any questions? All right, let me poll the committee. Mr. Frisha,
Wait, we don't have a second yet.
oh, I'm sorry, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second, who was that?
Dawn Anderson?
All right, Mr. Anderson, thank you. Let me poll the committee. Mr. Frisha,
Yes.
Mr. Barrett,
No.
Dr. Kenny,
Yes.
Ms. Gallivan,
Yes.
Dr. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Conroy? He's not here. Mr. Jeff Fisher?
Yes.
Jack Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Senek? Mr. Senek?
Yes.
And I vote yes, it is a vote. All right, Kate, next item.
I just want to note, for some reason, I'm getting this countdown for Zoom, so it says we have 6 minutes left, which we've never had before. So if we get kicked off, just jump back in the link and I'll have to figure it out with our IT. So the demand response commissioning with FST. So we currently have a commissioning agent on the project for both MEP and envelope, which is FST. They are hired by the MSBA. So the FST contract is directly with the MSBA. And through our design lead submission review, it has come up that we are going to need commissioning for the demand response system for the building, which is not currently in FST's contract with the MSBA. So this is a proposal to bring FST on board through directly, not through the MSBA, to do the demand response commissioning in addition to the rest of the commissioning they're doing for the project. For the amount of $4,479. And Matt, do you want to add anything to this?
No, not really. We sent this over to Adelman and Lelick, who is our energy consultant and helping us with lead. They reviewed the proposal, are very familiar with this, and they had no objections to what was submitted.
And this came up when you were reviewing the lead submission, and this will help us get the required lead point for demand response, correct?
Correct.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Hearing none, let me poll the committee. Pardon me, we need a motion. Do we have a motion to approve the demand response commission to the amount mentioned by Kate?
I'll move.
All right, motion.
I'll make that motion.
Right, I have a motion by Mr. Fisher, a second by Mr. Fisher. Let me poll the committee. Mr. Friscia?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
Dr. Kenny?
Yes.
Ms. Gallivan?
Yes.
Dr. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Jeff Fisher?
Yes.
Jack Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Dr. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Senek?
Yes.
And I vote yes, it is a vote. Next, Kate, vendor invoice package, I believe?
Yep, so we have our standard invoices, which include Vertex Tape. We have a New Wave Communications invoice for $3,000 for town fiber. We've already encumbered that previously. And Fontaine's rec. So we'll just flip through them. The New Wave piece was bringing the town fiber into the new building. So this was a small portion of that. They still have more work to do, but it's billing against a PO that we already have for the project. Fontaine's February rec is for $3,547,199, and they're currently 68% complete through February with construction. The updated budget is in the VIP. I just want to note that the technology POs will hit for the budget you see next month. Those have not been released yet, so the technology piece will be updated.
Thanks, Kate. Any questions or comments about the vendor invoice package? Hearing none, I would take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion from Ms. Gallivan. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Dr. Kenny. Let me poll the committee. Mr. Friscia?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
Dr. Kenny?
Yes.
Ms. Gallivan?
Yes.
Dr. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Jeff Fisher?
Yes.
Jack Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Dr. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Senek?
Yes.
And I vote yes, it is a vote. Next, Kate, MSBA communication.
Communications to and from the monthly or the quarterly change order logs were submitted, and the next remote site visit is scheduled for April 17th. And then in terms of meeting dates, our next meeting is scheduled for April 30th because of spring break and coordinating around select board meetings, but I'm proposing that we try to schedule a really quick meeting for April 9th I know that there's a select board meeting that night, but I would like to try to get the invoices paid April 9th and not wait till the end of the month. So I'm proposing that we have a quick hybrid meeting on April 9th at 6:30 for invoices only, if that's okay with the committee. And then keep the April 30th for the full meeting.
Works for me.
Okay, I don't think we need to vote on that, Kate, unless anybody has any objections.
Yeah, I don't object. I think I'm the only one that would object.
All right.
I'll
thanks.
send out an invite.
All right, so our next meeting will be April 9th, everybody? We clear with that?
Yep.
Great. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Fisher, a second from Mr. Barrett, I believe. Let me poll the committee. Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
Dr. Kenny?
Yes.
Ms. Gallivan?
Yes.
Dr. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yeah.
Jeff Fisher?
Yep.
Jack Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Dr. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Senek?
Yes.
And I vote yes, it is a vote. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.